Welcome to the fastest daf in town. Today on Masechtas Megillah Daf Chaf Hey, we are going to begin on the very bottom of Chaf Daled Mud Beis, the very last word, which is the Mishnah. Ha'oymer, a person says, Yivarechacha toivim, that should be blessed regarding the good things, Harizu derech haminus. This is also improper, because as we're going to see why in the Gemara, Rashi says, Sheinu koil rishoyim b'shivcho shel makom chachamim lamdu mechelbana sharecha ra. We learn as this Masechtas Krisos, the chelbana, which actually had a foul odor, umina hakasuv bein simani hakataris, the fact that it was included among the simani of the kataris, she masrichan hakasuv baratsasan liyosin ba'agud achas. They all had to be together. So you can't just say, oh, I only want the blessing to be on good people or on good things, because we find even when it comes to negative. Look in Tosfos, perish shemaitias hapoishim min klal. You're removing them. Inami mishum demechzik kishtei reshuyos kolomer elokim tovim. The good God, the bad God. There's a few different interpretations of what this means. So this is a huge problem. This derech minos. Al kan sipri yagir rachamecha. A person says, God, you're so merciful, you're kind to the bird. You don't just allow the mother bird to see the young being taken. Rather, you have to send the mother bird away. So you're so compassionate to all your creations. You can't say that. V'al toiv yizacher shemecha. And on the good, I'll remember your name. Or modim mishatkin iso. So in that case, you have to actually silence them. Now you can see this is not derech minos, which is the reason why Vel Toiv Zacher Shemecha is not the same thing as Yivarechacha Toivim. Yivarechacha Tovim is obviously a lot worse. So as we said, either because, as Rashi says, you're basically saying, I only care about the tzaddikim and don't bless the wicked people, don't include the wicked people. You cannot be moitzi the poishim from the klal. That's wrong. Also, because they're also necessary. And as we said also, it could be derech minus because it sounds like two deities. Okay. Hamachane barayos mishatkinaiso. One who uses different names for arayos, we silence them, says Rashi. B'gemar mafarish shedarish parshas arayos bikinui. Yomer lo erba mamish deber hakasav elokina kasav l'shoino. Basically, you want to soften up what the Torah says. The Torah says you're not allowed to do these arayos, and instead you end up saying, no, it's alluding to other concepts. It's not really talking about arayos mamish, so then we silence the person. Now, a person says, umizaracha lo titen lo haver lo moilach lo titen lo avra bar miusa mishatkin oiso ben zifa. So also, if a person says regarding the issue of moilech, it says Rashi, lo tavo al kusis, it just means they're not allowed to have relations with the kutit, v'toilid ben lavodazara, and give that child over to idols. We silence them. She'oiker hakasam mashma'oi, says Rashi, because you're changing the language. Shu avoidus choik le'emorayim haver b'nehem eish. We're talking about someone who actually puts their child into fire. Bishlam moidim demechsa, which is, again, this is the difficulty with this pshat in Tosfos, is l'chayra, if it's mechsa shuyos, so why don't we call that derech haminus? Why do we just mishaskenai so? Okay. So anyway, but this is what the Gemara says. The ayin Tosfos in second pshat. So if you say modim, you repeat it. So it looks like, again, you're saying modim to two different gods, possibly. V'al toiv yizacher shemecha nami demashmal toiv ein v'al raloi. They only on the good things, not the bad. But Tanan, we learned in the Masechtas Brachos, the beginning of the last parak there, ninth parak. Chayv adam mavarech al ra kashem shu mavarech al toiva. You have to bless the good and the bad. El kan sipir girachamecha. My timos. What's the problem? This is also, again, it's all quoted in Masechtas Brachos. So pligi batram aroi. Who do they argue about in the West, in Eretz Yisrael? Rav Yosi bar Avin and Rav Yosi bar Zvida. Chad oimer mimnei shemetel kina b'masei breishis. you're going to cause jealousy in my Sabratius. What does that mean? Says Rashi, Lomar al ha'ofos chas v'al ha'behemos v'chayos enu chas. Why does Hashem show favoritism over birds over other creatures? Even they can say maybe of behemos, we say there's dinim of osamos, but no. Okay. It gives the appearance that God's doing it because of compassion, but no, it's a gezeros acosta. The Torah is telling us this is what we're supposed to do. It says Rashi, we have to do the mitzvahs. We don't always understand the reason for it. We don't have to necessarily come up with the reasoning for it. May God be compassionate on us, just like He's on the birds. Let's see the parentheses. Again, also spano, as I mentioned, not killing the mother and the child on the same day. This guy is such a great davener. He can ask Hashem so beautiful. I thought, didn't we learn you're supposed to silence them? Truth is, he knew that. He was just trying to sharpen him up. And that's the reason why he said it that way. But of course, he knew that wasn't correct. Not bad. He's saying the first paragraph of Shemona Esrei really well, but then he kept going on. Very strong and powerful. So he turned to him and said, did you finish praising Hashem? Hashda hani tlasa ilav de kasvinhu Moshe Boraisa the also kenesa gadayla v'takninhu ananu amrinlahu. We have no right to say them. The only reason why we have a right to say these words is only because they were actually said by Moshe and also by the Anshe Knesset Gedolah. Where do we see this? So in Sefer Devarim, Rashi quotes Hakel Hagadol Hagibur B'Hanor Ashel Yisaponim. Anshe Gedolah in Sefer Ezra, it says V'atol Kino Hakel Hagadol Hagibur B'Hanor Shemer Habris V'Chesed. So that's the only reason why we could say it is because it's already been pre-recorded. V'at Amrit Kuli Ha, you say all this. Mashal Adam Shahayu Uloi Elf Alfi Alafim Dinri Zahav V'Hayim Kalsanai So Be'elef Dinri Kesef. So, you're praising someone who has gold with saying, oh, wow, you have so much silver. It's impossible for you to be able to reach the depths of all the praises to Hashem. So therefore, we only have the right to do the praises that are specifically mentioned. Everything is in the hands of Hashem except for fearing Him. And therefore, if a person is strong, smart, healthy, all these things, so you really can't take the credit for that, except for your Shemayim. Shnemar, the pasuk is V'ato Yisrael Ma'ashem Elchecha Shel Mi'imoch Ki'imu Yira. The only thing that Hashem asks you is for Yira. So says Rashi, Osa Masur B'Yidei Adam. That was given to us. Shehu Atzmo Mechin Libo Lakach. We should prepare our hearts to be this way. Afagav shecholis biyado lahachin levavenu olav. It's on us. Dechsev hini kechaymer biyad ha'oitzer kin atem biyadi beis alkin biyomer. Okay, so it's in our hands. So look in Taisus over here. Kasha daha perik el nairis amrin and hakob d'shmayim chutz masin mapachem. Everything is in the hands of God except for hot and cold. So what do you mean fearing of God? V'nira dehacha mayri b'toildas adam imia chacham o tipesh ani o ashir gibor o cholosh. When it comes to the ways of characters of a person, weak, strong, smart, da'kol nigzor love, all that is decreed chutz min ayira. K'echsev al yahalu ashir ba'oshir v'agvir b'gvuraso ki'im b'zois yishalu b'smal b'tedas. Bahasam, when it's talking about the weather, Mari b'ma'odois adam hasidois lovo, things that could happen to us. Achar shenoilad, after you've given birth, after you're born. Shigam heim b'di shemayim, that's also in Hashem's hand, therefore cold and hot. Pirush hakor v'chom, says Taisus. Lo kasha mahadach sil lefnei karato miyamod, dehachi perusho. Im yishal chena b'pam achas kedechsev b'rosh hapasuk. Okay. Of a kolzman shehu bebeso vada yochahu You could be saved if you are cautious. Okay. So it sounds the way that Moshe is framing it, it's a simple thing. Where it says for him, it's a small thing. Again, Mafarshim wonder, well, maybe it was easy for Moshe, not for everyone else. So if you have something, it seems nothing. Like Moshe, if it's small and you don't have it, to you it's big. So if you have something, it seems easy. But if you don't, if it's not easy, it's something you don't have, that's very hard. You can't repeat the Shema. You repeat it, it's disgusting. It's not nice. We're not going to silence him. So how do we say it's the same? Question is, did you say words, or do you say like the whole pasuk? Says Rashi. If you said milsa, kol teva oimer v'shayna. If you say a word and you repeat it, inkan mashmo shtei rishuyos el meguna v'sachahu. So, in other words, if a person would say Shema Shema, Yisrael Yisrael, Hashem Hashem, so that's meguna. But it's not. It doesn't look like you're praying to two deities, because it's clear you're just repeating the words over and over. But if you say a whole sentence, you say a whole other prayer, so that's a problem. Okay, that's how Rashi looks at it. Maybe the reason why he's repeating is just because he didn't have kavanah the first time. So you're God's friend. If you don't have kavanah, machinule be'ar zafta the nafacha ad machavin daite. We should hit you in the head with a sledgehammer or that of a blacksmith until you have kavanah. It doesn't mean that we're going to beat the person, but it means you have no right to take that attitude. You need to do whatever it takes to make sure you have kavanah the first time. So a person comes up with these other ideas of what the harayas are, we silence them. Tan Rav Yosef, koloin aviv v'kolon imo. It's referring to embarrassing your father, embarrassing your mother. No, it means what it means. No, it's just talking about Yisrael who has relations with the Kutit, the whole men of Bain, Lavodazar, Kasam Adamer, and they're going to use that child to end up worshiping idols. No, it's Moilech. It's taking a child and killing it for Avodah Masa Ruvain. Fine. So let's look at question 5. So if you just repeat the words Shema, Shema, Yisrael, Yisrael, then that's Maguna. But if you say the whole pasuk and then repeat the whole pasuk, that's when we silence you. Ma'aser Ruvain, Nikra v'lo matargim. The story of Ruvain, specifically where it says Vayishkav as Billah, Pilegashav, that he laid down with Billah, which really means he moved the beds, his father's bed. So we don't translate that, because it could obviously be misconstrued. Masi Tamar Nikra Matargim. However, the story of Tamar, again, this is talking about specifically in the Shul, but the story of Tamar with Yehuda, and her being suspected as being a Zona, and she showed Yehuda his items, that is translated. Maseh Egel Harisha Nikra Matargim, the story of the first Egel. What does that mean? Al Parshas Egel Ad V'Yashlichehu Be'esh, which is Parsha Kisisa, talking about the Egel Azav. So, in that we do the Targum. Umasha Chazer Aaron B'Siper Hamasahu, but when it's repeated, Hasheni Nikra V'lo Matargim, Kari Maisi Egel Hasheni. It's not that we did the Egel Azav twice, but the story was repeated, and over there it says Vayetze Ha'egel Hazeh, that the Egel, this one went out. We don't want to translate it because Amaratzim will say, oh yeah, you know what? It was real. The Yomer Mamish Hayu, that boy, it actually had abilities, Shiatz Me'elav, that walked by itself. because of the way it could be misconstrued. So the Maaseh Sheni of the Egel Sheni we don't repeat. Birchas Kohanim Maaseh David v'Amnon Nikroin v'Matargumin. We'll see why that when it comes to these things as well, we do not translate them. Ein maftirin b'markava. We don't do the haftorah with the markava, which we'll see what's the problem with that. Which is the beginning of Yecheskel. Yehuda mater, he says it's okay. Rabbi Eliezer Omer ein maftirin b'hoida es Yerushalayim. And we'll have to understand the reason Rashi is hoida es Yerushalayim, because it says es toavoseha. It's abominations in Sefer Yecheskel, so some don't say that. Tanurbanan. Yesh nikroin metargmin, v'yesh nikroin v'lo metargmin, v'yesh lo nikroin v'lo metargmin. Elu nikrin u'metargmin. Balat akin nash basimin. Masa bereshis nikro metargim. So we do both. So pshita, why can't you say the story of the creation? Madatema asli shuli malamalo malamata. People are going to start asking difficult questions in which you're not supposed to, as the Gemara in Chagiga talks about, not supposed to ask certain questions. What's above? What's below? Malifni, malifani, malachar. What was before creation? What was afterwards? Because of that, Kamash Malan, we still translate it. Masi lo tushte b'naisav nikra metargame. Pshita. Why can't we mention that whole story, even though it's obviously not such a great story of what happened, what they did with their father, having kids as well. So pshita. So madatema nechash l'chvoided Avraham kamash malan. You would think maybe it's an embarrassment to Avraham. Fine. Masit tamar v'Yehuda nikra metargame pshita. So mahu datema lechash l'chvoided Yehuda. That maybe you should be afraid of, embarrassing Yehuda. Kamash malan shivchehu. It's actually a shvach de oidi, because he admitted, says Rashi, shahoide mechetoi. The fact that he admitted to his sin, that's something which is praiseworthy. It's okay that a person makes mistakes. What's important is to admit to those mistakes. It's embarrassment to the Jews. Let it be said, because it's a kapara for us. Maybe a person will end up feeling so horrible and bad by hearing these psukim of all these different punishments, and therefore Rashi says, "V'yomu tovi hanus min oyom hazeh b'chol ritzonenu hoyel v'soifenu li anish." We're going to get punished anyway. Might as well just sin. So a person, we're not concerned of those issues. Okay, we're going to stop Toisus. Ma b'sof givuli oil. What's at the end of the boundaries of the world? L'mizrach, Hamarv, to the east, to the west. Yinami mahoya koidim shishish me'brachus. What happened before the creation? Mahoya acher shichla ha'oilam. It's a little scary. I don't want to even translate those words. Okay, Kamashmon. Azaros v'oin shinikroin metargman. So what does that mean? So the Azharos, the different punishments, we also translate. Maybe you'll end up serving Hashem only out of fear. That we're not concerned with that. So the story of Amnon and Tamar is translated. Masi Avshalom Nikra Umatargim. And the story with Avshalom also is translated. So Pshita, what's the problem? Why would we think not? So Madatem Lichush David. Maybe we should show honor to David. It's an embarrassment, these things. Kamashmuan. Masi Pilegish Begiva, at the end of Sefer Shoftim, is Nikra Matargim Pshita Madatem Lichush Chvod de Binyamin, because it happened, was with Sheva Binyamin, this whole incident. Kamashmuan. Hoides Yerushalayim es Tovo Yiseha Nikra Matargim, which is a question from our Mishnah. Pshita, Zafukim in Rabbi Eliezer, the Sani Masaba Adam Echa Shahoy Karyo Lamala Rabbi Eliezer. He was reading Hoides Yerushalayim es Tovo Yiseha. Armelo Adshiata Boidik but Toavos Yerushalayim. You're so busy looking at the negativity of Yerushalayim. Siu Bodik but Toavos Imcha. Maybe we should look at the Toavos of your mom. Bad Kwachar b'Motzbo Shemetz Psul. So therefore, because of that, we don't some people would not read this because it's very painful to speak negatively about Yerushalayim, and wrong to do. You start pointing and looking at others, maybe you should look at yourself. Ve'el nikroim v'ol matargmin, Rav Don Simon, Masi Ruvain, Nikra v'ol matargim, Masi Rebbe Chanina ben Gamliel shahalach l'kful, Dohayi kari chazan hachaneses, Vahi bishkoin Yisrael v'yarmelo v'ol matargmin tafsek. He said, stop. Al tetargim el acharoin. Do not translate except the end part. Says Rashi, Vihu b'nei Yaakov shnei masar, that there was 12 children. Upasek hazen nisak behesek parsha alakach kareu acharon ki'iluhu pasuk atzmo. It sounds almost like a completely different pasuk. So it's very interesting the way it's read. It's split in the Torah, and therefore it's like it's something else. But Shivchu Chachamim, the Chachamim praised them to make sure that part wasn't translated. Masa Egel Hasheni Nikrabel Matargim Mesa Masa Egel Hasheni. So he said min from what Aaron repeated. Vayar Moshe ad Vayar Moshe. Tanya Rav Shimon Elezer Omer Olmi Adam Zahir B'Tshuvasav. You have to be careful how you respond. Shemitot Tshuva Sheheshiva Aaron LaMoshe Parku Hamarim. Because of the way that Aaron spoke, the complainers started coming up. Shenemar V'Ashlichem Be'esh Vayetzi Ha'egel Hazeh. So we said in Rashi, people said, oh, it must be that this Egel actually has mamish, has the ability to physically move. Berachas Kohanim Nikrayim B'lo Matargim my time Yisa. Yisa Hashem. What does that mean? So says Rashi, Shalu Yomer HaKadosh Baruch Hu Nois Lehem Panim. Hashem shows favoritism. V'hinu Yodim, they don't know Shkadai Hein Yisrael Loses Lehen Panim. That it's Kedai that Hashem should show favoritism toward them, as it quotes the Gemara in Brachos. Lo Kedai Hein Yisrael Loses Lehen Panim. Ani Amarti V'chalta V'savata B'rachta V'hein Machmirin El Atzman Ad Kazayas Ad Kebetza. That they go above and beyond. So how's that an answer, by the way? The answer is it's not showing favoritism. It's showing because they want a relationship with me, so therefore I'm going to develop a relationship with them as well. Okay. Masei David v'Amnon look Nikroin bo Matargumin. I b'Amnon Masei Amnon b'Tamar Nikroin Matargumin. He said that you do it. Lokash hadich sev Amnon ben David hadich sev Amnon stama. So how do we understand that? So the Pashtus, when it says Amnon ben David, no. But if it's Amnon Stam, where it's not linked to David, it's okay. Tanabana. Kol mikrois haksubim b'tayra legenai karnos l'shvach. All the psukim which are genai, we read them praiseworthy. Kigoin yishgalena, we read yishgavena. Ba'alofim batchayrim, which is in the Tochacha. Chiroinim dibyoinim. Le'echel es chayreihen, b'lishtois es mei shiseihem. Le'echel es soasam, b'lishtois es mei ragleihem. Referring to eating one's waste. Le'moi charois, le'moi tsois. Rabbi Yeshua ben Karcha oimer, le'mo charos kishman. Actually, we keep it that way, because this is actually a disgrace to kachavim, to idols, and that we are allowed to disgrace. Omer Rav Nachman kolet tzinusa sira bar melit tzinusa de avodas kachavim, the Sharia. A person is allowed to show scoffing and late sondos, foolishness toward idols. Dechsiv kara bel koires navoy. Dechsiv karsu karoi yachtov. Lo yochel malit masa, which is saying that it can't hold its weight, which is referring to, Rashi says, kaivid masa shel rei, like if it's waste. Rav Yanai Omer Mahacha le'eglois beis oven yaguru shachan shaimrim ki avo olav amo kamarav olav yagilu al kavoidai ki gol mimenu al tikri kavodo el kavedo. Again, it's heaviness, which is referring to its waste. Amar Rav Huna bar Manayach Mishmei Rav Acha Beredu Rav Ika Sharli Labar Yisrael Meimer Leil Kachavim. You can say to this idol worshipper, Shakli Lavas Kachavim, take your idols the Anche B'Shin Tav, and put it in the shin tav. What is that referring to? Shalai. What is that referring to? Shin is bar girta zayna shema, was the name of a zayna. Mutal avaza is gamas imo shil dasai. Okay, so some say it has to do with the zona. Omer Ravashi Haiman Ditsani Shemane, says Rashi, Shiaitzalav Shemuas Roy, so as soon as Shehunayif, it goes out that this person's an adulterer, Sharlev Zuye Begimel Vishin. You can embarrass him with a gimel and a shin. So gimel is bar girta zona shema. Then you can basically say that he's a bar gira zayna. This person was a zayna, and you could embarrass them in this way. Shintaf, by the way, Rashi says before was lashon v'tasufe shes ervas mitzrayim. Haiman des shaper shame sharlishvuche uman des shavchi yanuchu abrachos al roisho. Such a person, who again was the shaper shaime, which you can praise them, and someone who praised them, the bracha should be on their head. So the Sane Shaime, someone who hates someone who's a naif, but someone who is the opposite, so you praise such a person. Hadron Allah Hakaris Megillah Oimed, Hadron Allah Hakaris Megillah Oimed, Hadron Allah Hakaris Megillah Oimed. We're now up to the fourth and final parak in this Masechta. Bnei Ir Shemachru Rechoiva Shel Ir, that if, let's say, people in the city want to sell this town square, they can purchase with that money a synagogue, and we'll discuss if it can be done in reverse. We'll see that next time. We'll stop here. Let's just first see a couple questions. Question 6. El Mikaro Shibatayra is a very hard question because you have to know everything I just said. These are the places in the Torah that you metargim, that you're nikroim lo metargim. At least it says only two. So one was the story of Reuven. The second one is the story of Tamar with Yehuda, and the third one is the story of Maseh Egel Hasheni or Birchas Kohanim. I think also. So those are. Oh, and you're not matargim. You're not matargim. So you're not matargim when it comes to the Egel Hasheni by Maseh Reuven, and also by Birchas Kohanim because of the word Yisa. Okay. TA 13. Madua Birchas Kohanim Nikra V'lo Matargim. So I just said that because it says the word Yisa. Where's that? Let's look at that Rashi. I'll put that there. That's TA 13. TB 15. Nema ein metargimin Maseh Reuven, Maseh Egel Hasheni, Birchas Kohanim. So same question, but obviously much harder because they want you to know three answers. So Birchas Kohanim is the same. We'd said that one already. This is TB 15, but also not the Egel Hasheni. Egel Hasheni is because it says, let's see if I can find this Rashi, because it's Yesh Mamish B'avodah Zarah, because they're going to think of Yesh Mamish. Let me get to this Gemara over here. Shenemar v'ashlichem ke'esh v'yetze Egel Hasheni. So that's really the answer to that. And also by Maseh Reuven. So what does he want from Maseh Reuven? Because it'll be misconstrued, I would imagine. The Cheshin l'genuso, because it's a genus. Adkan.